My name is John Lipscomb, and this is going to be for Realist. And we're going to get started. Close it on my screen here. And the first thing we're going to talk about is how do you access Realist? Or what is Realist? Well, Realist is a tax database program. This is where you would go in and find the tax records for any property in Florida, not just what's in the MLS. You can go outside of the MLS area if you are looking for tax information. It does cover the entire state. When you are accessing Realist, you can access the system in several different ways. Um, Quickly, if you have installed the My MLS app, you will see that if you do open up any listing on the My MLS app, you will find a link for the tax info in the My MLS app. If you haven't installed the My MLS app, you do have an Android device or an iPhone or an iPad, you can install that app for free. This is going to be your mobile searching utility. This is where you can go in and look up properties when you're out and about. And if you use the tax info link on any listing that you find in those or in that system, you will be able to bring up Realist tax information. So if you've been using the MyMLS app previously, you've been accessing Realist, you may not have even known it. So definitely install our free app. It's called MyMLS app. If you can't find it in your Google Play Store or your App Store, search for MFR MLS, either that or MyMLS app. It should come up, and just make sure that you are signing in as an agent. So we're going to talk about how do you access Realist information when you're using the MLS. So what I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to go in and log into Matrix, and we're going to go into mfrlogin.com. This is the web page you should use when you are logging into the MLS. And we're going to talk about the several different ways that you can get into the system. Well, when you do log in, you will find here on our login portal, there is a button that takes you to Realist right here. That's where you want to go into the system and basically do a search from scratch. Now, we will get into that in a bit, using the actual attributes or criteria in Realist to search. But first, we're going to talk about how do you access tax information for existing listings in the MLS. So let's say you're in Matrix. So I'm going to log into Matrix here just by clicking on the Matrix button. This is going to bring me to the home page of Matrix. We are going to go ahead and just cycle through our messages of the day here. And you will find a link up at the top for Realist Tax. Realist is the default tax product in Matrix. So anytime you do any sort of tax auto-populate or click on any tax links, it's all going to take you into the Realist system here. So you'll see this in several places. When you are adding a brand new listing, when you first start a listing, you choose the type, and after you choose the type of listing, you can pre-populate the information or what's called auto-pop that will pull from Realist. When you are looking at a listing in the MLS, let me just pull up here under my recent searches, just any random property. And I'll click on, this one right here, Pine Valley in Sarasota. When you do access any listing in the MLS, you will have several different ways to get into the Realist tax information for that listing. If you do click on the tax ID, this will take you into Realist. It will bring you to kind of the one web page view, the consolidated information for the tax info for this property. You'll also see these little blue Coliseum icons. There's two of them. This one right here, the first one, when you mouse over it, it says Realist Property Detail. If you click on this link right here, or if you click on the tax ID, it takes you into the same place. This will open up a new window. It will have the consolidated or quick tax information. As you scroll down, you'll see that it'll have things like the owner information, location information, the tax information. We'll have a clickable link here for the folio strap or parcel ID. When you do click on that link, it will take you to whatever that county property appraiser site is. As you scroll down, you will see other tax information. You will see the assessment and tax going back several years. There is a link to the county treasurer site. You'll also find the characteristics of this particular house or parcel. As you scroll down, you'll find the features, the building description. It will have an AVM or an estimated value. It will give you the confidence score or the FSD or forecast standard deviation. It does explain what these numbers mean, the range and everything below here. If it does happen to be a listing that would be in the MLS, it will then show the MLS listing information, the last market sale and sale history, and the mortgage history. And you will find that it does put your information on here. And with this form, you can print it if you would like. You can launch into the full version of Realist if you wanted to go in. You can search for comparables, or you can look at the neighborhood information for this particular property. Now, we'll get to the individual comparables tab and comparables information, the neighborhood information, when we're looking at an actual parcel in Realist here in a bit. So we'll come back to this in a bit. The quick version is the one you would click on the first blue Coliseum icon, or if you click on the tax ID. If you want the full version of the Realist information for this particular property, you would click on the second little blue Coliseum icon. When you mouse over it, it says Realist Map. Think of this as though you did a search in Realist for this particular property. So it would actually bring up the 3272 Pine Valley Drive in Sarasota as my search result. So if you really want to think about it, the first Coliseum icon is kind of the quick version of the tax information. The second blue little Coliseum icon, this is going to be the full tax information where you can actually go in and interact with the information a little bit more. So the first one's the quick version. Second one is like the full version of the tax information. So when I do click on the second one, it's going to open up Realist as though you did a search for that particular property. Show my split view here. It's got the location on the map. It's got my result down here. It shows me that's an active listing in the MLS. When I double click on the listing here, it opens it up and I can go through the different tabs of information. We'll be covering this in detail a little bit later. Okay, so you can go directly into the result and see the tax information if you would like. But what we're really going to focus on is starting in Realist from scratch, like just starting off with a search, looking up a property, going in and working with that. We will cover things like in mailing labels. So we're going to start just by clicking on Realist. Now I could have done this from Matrix up at the top if I wanted to, with the Realist tax link up here. It's the same thing as when I go in and I click on the Realist button down from the login portal when you log in at mfrlogin.com. So I'm going to click on this. We're just going to open up Realist. We're just going to start from scratch. So when you first come in, you will see you've got your home screen here. And Realist is broken up into 3 sections. You've got your searching section here on the left. You have your map section, which is at the top right. You have your results grid, which is going to be at the bottom right. Now, you can change the view of how this is set up. Now, when I come in, I can actually collapse my search criteria or attributes after I'm done. I can focus simply on the map, just work with the map if I want to. I can work with the grid if I want to. Or I can work with my split view here. Okay, so if I click on this button, I can open up or collapse the actual attributes or criteria for my search. And really before we get started, we're going to talk about where do you get help. Well, up at the very, very top here, you will see there is a help tab. You will also see these little information bubbles spread out all over Realist. Here there is one for the My Search tutorial. You'll have another one here on the right-hand side for the results grid of the Map Tools tutorial. And these are really helpful. When you open these up, These will open up a new little pop-up window so it's not interrupting your session. And you can go in and look at videos for searching. You can go in and look at videos for different things. Here, working with the map, help with the map tools, help with the grid, and this will walk you through it. There really isn't anything that I will be talking about today that does not have an associated guide or video that goes along with it. The help section in Realist is really good. So when you go to the help section here, you will find that there is a user guide that's broken up into different sections, getting started, using the Realist search, using the Realist map, the Realist reports, or the frequently asked questions. You will find that there are tutorials based on the different sections of Realist. And when you click on any of these, we'll take you outside of Realist, doesn't interrupt your Realist session, just opens up a new tab. And you'll find that it's broken into little sections here, managing searches, got little subsections for that, using the map, using the drawing tools, all that good stuff, looking at the reports, printing, saving them. Use the help section. It is really, really good. It will help you when you're getting started and working with Realist. So the help section is very, very helpful when you're getting started. Okay, so we're going to talk about searching. So I'm going to go back to the searching tab right here. And when I come in, if you notice right away, right when I logged in, it actually brought me to one of my search templates. This is the one I left off with when I last logged off of Realist. So we'll kind of pick up a little bit where you left off. This is one of my saved search templates for our Turtle Rock subdivision in Sarasota. I'm going to work with some other examples today. When you first log in, you'll find that you have your quick search up here at the top left. Now, the quick search has some predefined attributes or criteria that you can use just simply to pull up any property that you would like. Here it has the address, the owner, the MLS listing number, if that applies, or the folio or parcel ID. The quick search, this criteria right here, you cannot edit. It's just quick criteria to go in and quickly pull up a property. Whereas in the My Search, you get a little bit more customization. You can choose which criteria or attributes you're going to use when you are searching for parcels in Realist. When you do go in, this little piece of paper here with the little minus sign, anytime you see a minus sign, you're subtracting the information. So think of it like the eraser. This is what's going to clear all the fields that you are using. When you're first getting started with Realist, you want to make sure you are in the right county. The last time I went in, I had it set for Sarasota. Pick up where you left off. So once you set the county once, it will open it up to the last county you used. Now, the last reporting date here in Sarasota was June 30th of 2014. Now, Realist is unique because when you go into change region up here, you can actually set up to 8 criteria at once. You can set up to 8 counties. And notice it has all of the counties in Florida, not just the ones that are covered in this particular MLS in Central Florida. Now, our example house, I'm going to use Orange County today, just a house that I am familiar with when we're using this particular system. But you could go in and add several. You can add up to 8. So you can actually search in multiple counties if you'd like. Now, if I go in and I add multiple counties, when I apply this, it is going to show me that I have multiple counties selected here. So it just lets me know that I'm using more than one county. When you do work with individual counties, it will tell you which county you currently have it set to, and it will tell you the last recording date, the last time that that database was updated. This particular database was updated on June 25th in 2014. Using multiple counties, it will tell you on the right-hand side what the recording date was for that particular county. Okay, I'm going to click the X here to get rid of some of these, and we're just going to focus in on Orange County today. Now remember, different counties record different information. Not every county records the same thing. So if you find that if you are using multiple counties and you find that your results are a little skewed, That could be because different counties record different information. So it is still recommended that you do utilize one county at a time. However, in Realist, you do have the option of using several if you would like. Okay, so the first thing you got to do when you get in is you want to go in and make sure you are in the right county. Quick search, once again, is just quick criteria to pull up a property. And then you have your My Search. The My Search, when I click on this tab, this is going to be a little bit more customizable. And you'll find that you've got your search attributes down here. Attributes is just another name for criteria. What do I want to use to find the properties that I'm interested in looking at? So attributes are just a fancy name for criteria. Now when I come in here, I've got some information already populated here from the last time that I ran my search. It does keep information from one session of Realist to another. So if you're not sure, click on the little minus sign. This is going to clear all of your values and all of the information you have in here personally. So I'm just going to start off with a blank slate. And we're going to focus in on the attributes for a moment. Now, with these attributes, you can customize this. If you would like to take a field, you can click on it and you can drag these in whatever order you would like. Okay, so you can actually customize your search. Now, with the actual attributes that you're using when you search, if you click down here at the bottom, you will find that there is a button for Edit Attributes. This is where you can control the information that you are using. Okay, so attributes. So it's telling me right now that I've got 23 attributes here in my search list. I've got 23 pieces of criteria or attributes here in my search list, but I can have a total of 30. There is a maximum of the amount of fields that you can. When you go in for the first time, it goes in and says show all. This is going to have all of the attributes, basically the entire list of attributes that you can use. But these are also broken into different categories. You can just look at the attributes based on owner information or location information. You can look at the attributes for the characteristics or listing information, the assessment and tax information. You can look for sales information. You can look for foreclosure and distressed information or mortgage information. These are all of the different attributes that you can add. They're all categorized, but the show all button does show you the master list of everything. Now, when you are going in and picking your attributes, it will show you the ones that you currently have here on the right. And then from here, this order corresponds to what you're using in your search. From here, you can click on the X and exclude a field and turn it off. That would free up one of your slots here. Or you can take these and you can drag and drop these in whatever order you would like here. Once you get it all the way you want it with the attributes that you want to go in and include, you can click Apply. And that's going to set your order for the attributes that you want to use here. Now, you can go in and set up templates if you would like. You can set up several different kinds of templates when you are utilizing Realist. You can just set up a search template just for the attributes that you want to use. Or you can actually set up searches with the values populated. So if you go in and you always look within a certain street or a certain subdivision, you can save a search based on the values that you have put into these fields here. Okay, so right now with our default search, we've got things like our street numbers, street directions, street names, street suffix, post, property unit, and then you have your subdivision. The subdivision is going to be a lookup. You can go in here, you can click on select from a list and just say golf something. You can go in and just look up part of it, look for all of the subdivisions that you want to include. It will include the different additions or sections of the different subdivisions. And if you want to use one, you would just click on it and click on the arrow to move it over to the right. And these are the actual subdivisions that I have selected. And if you want to select multiple things, you hold down Control. And this will allow you to select multiple subdivisions because you may want all of the different sections of a subdivision here, and then you click on the arrow to add them in. If you want a range of things, you can click on the first one, hold Shift down on your keyboard, and then left click on the second one, and that will actually give you the range of what you want to select, and then you can click on the arrow to the right. And if you want to take it out, it's the reverse. You click on the arrow here. Just remember it's Control click if you want individual things, and then it is Shift click if you want a range of things, very similar to the way it is in Matrix. Okay, so I've got all these subdivisions selected right now. Now, when you do utilize subdivisions, you can select up to 100 if you would like. Take those out for a moment. Let me go ahead and take these out. Out of these, take these off my list. But if I knew what the subdivision was, or if I knew what the subdivision number was, I could use that. I could use city as my attributes, zip code, owner, mailing state. If I knew the owner was had a mailing address that was outside of this particular area, I could choose that. The zip code, year built, owner occupied, yes or no. Bedrooms, bathrooms, living square footage, total building square footage, does it have a pool, what is the site influence, the sale date. I could use any of this, plus all of the other attributes here in the list. So I'm going to go in and I'm just going to start doing a search. I'm actually going to go in like quick search again and just pull up a property really quick. I'm going to go in and pull up a property that I am familiar with, 1154 News in Orlando. If I spelled Orlando correctly, that would help. Okay. And then when I do that, I'm going to click on search. So I'm going to start my search with just a quick search just to pull up a property here. So it's going to put the property on the map. It's going to show me my results here. When I go in and I do my search, I could actually have done this a different way. Let's say I wanted everything on U Street and Carlson Street. I could have used a shape if I wanted to on the map. If I would have done a my search, you'd have your shape options up here. Do a search. You will find that you have your icons right here. And we're going to move from left to right. When you find yourself looking at the search options, this blank sheet of paper, not really recommended, but if you absolutely have to, you can click on this blank sheet of paper, and this actually lets you create a search from scratch. You would choose the attributes that would be used in the search. There would be nothing in here. So not really recommended, but if you absolutely want to go in and choose and build your search from scratch, you can do that with a blank sheet of paper. Just think of it like a blank sheet of paper where you have to add the actual criteria or attributes onto it. The folder icon, this is where you would go in, and it's going to have a list of all of your searches that you've done previously. By default, you will see that we have a foreclosure search, we have an MLS search, and we have a tax search available. These are system reports, so they actually have a little padlock next to them, meaning you cannot delete these. But if you want to go in and delete any of the other ones you've set up, like this one I set up back at the end of June, I can click on the X and confirm that I want to delete it. So I'm just going to open up a tax search. And when I do my tax search here, I could go in and I could have put in the address from here if I wanted to, 1154 in use, or I could have used any of the other criteria or whatever you want to use to search. When I go in and I do my search here, I can save this search. And you can save it in several different ways. If you want to save anything for later, you would click on the little floppy disk here, and this is going to allow you to give this search a name. I'm not doing a tax search anymore. I want to call this something specific. so I can access it later. Maybe you're using a certain subdivision, or maybe you're using a certain city or something like that. When you click on the little floppy disk, this is going to allow you to save this search. You can save it in one of two ways. You can save it as a form. When you save it as a form, it's just going to have all of the fields you're using, whatever order you specified, but all of the forms themselves are going to be blank. So think of like the form as a blank slate search where you have to go and fill in the information. Or you can save it as a search. If you save it as a search with the floppy disk here, when you save it as a search, this is going to include the values that you have in the attributes. So if you've specified a certain city or subdivision or street or something like that, you can give it a name. And so I'm actually going to save this one as a form. So it will remind you that it's just going to remove everything here. And let's just say my OC search. I click on save. Access that later here with the little folder. The folder, you'll see that the search that you have created, it will be in date order. So the newest one will be at the top, the oldest one you set up will be at the bottom, and I can click on this to load it up here. And it would load up my search. The clock icon here to the right, this clock icon is going to keep track of the last 10 things you've done, like the last 10 types of searches that you've done here. It's very similar to the recent searches in Matrix. You can go in, I could have loaded up, I did a tax search earlier, I could just load that one up really quick if I would like. Using fields. Like if I go in and I do my street number again, and I do my street name, I can click on search. Let's say after I do this, you know what, I don't want just this one property. I want everything on Muse Street here, and I want everything on Carlson Street. Well, I could take my street number out, and I could say, all right, well, I've got Muse Street already in here. I can hit the plus symbol, and then I can add in Carlson as well. So you can add multiple values in the attribute fields. And when I click on search, this will give me my updated search results. And you can see where they all are here. Okay, so now I've got all my results. Now there is no matches number in Real, so it's not going to give you a running total of the things that you have selected or the actual matches to your criteria. It's just showing me right here that I have 166 results for that search. If you use any of these, let's say out of all of these, which one of these are not owner occupied? Well, let's say owner occupied, no. Now, when you do update your attributes in Realist, you do need to click on search. Every time you want to update the results, you need to click on search. So out of these 166, how many of these are not owner occupied? And it looks like 57 are not owner occupied. Just remember, you need to click on search when you're trying to update the results. Remember to use the help bubble if you need to. And just to kind of show you how it's going to leave off here, I'm going to leave off on a tax search, and I'm going to leave this information here in the fields. I'm going to close out of Realist for a moment. And I'm actually going to open it right back up. And when Realist does reload, you will find it will take you right back to the last search that you were doing. And it will populate, oops, you know, I backed out of that template. If you would have left off on one of your search templates, it would have left off with that information here. Now, if I want to go in and look at a certain area, let's load up my folder. Let's load up my OC search again. If I would have left off on this one, it would have populated it. So I'm going to load up my search with my fields, put my information in here. Let's just say Muse Street again, and I click on search. Now, when you are utilizing your search, you can use your criteria, but you can also use your map. And that's where we're going to kind of focus on next. So the first section is the search, the actual criteria. but I can actually remove that street if I want to. And when I do that, it's going to clear out my results. Well, instead of actually going in and doing a search here from the actual attributes, I could have just come to the map in my search. This doesn't work from the quick search, but if you are in the My Search where you can customize it, you will see that you have several icons here to the right. The first one will be your pencil. And the pencil is going to be where you can draw shapes and specify that you want a certain area. Well, when I click on the pencil here, I've got my radius tool, I've got my rectangle tool, and I've got my polygon tool. And this is what I'm going to use to search. I could look within a certain radius and say I want everything within a certain radius of this address. I click once to start it, and I click again when I want to place the shape on here. Now my results will include everything that this circle or shape is touching. That's going to be a little different. Okay? Anytime you put a shape on the map, it's just going to include as your results, when you click on search, everything that that particular shape is touching. So even though these don't fall within that shape, this circle, if you zoom in, is actually touching part of this parcel. So it is going to include that as a result. These shapes in Realist, it depends on what they're touching. It's not based on the MLS where it looks for the results that fall within that shape. Okay, now I can click on the border of the shape here. I can name it if I want to. I can see how big it is, and I can delete it from here if I want. Or I could have just used the minus sign down here if I'd like. Now that I've done that, notice my results didn't go away. Whenever you need to update anything on the map, you click on search. So I can use a rectangle. Let's just say we want to use a rectangle just for this block right here. I don't need to surround the block. I can actually just go over the ones that I'm interested in using with. As long as it's touching it, it will bring it in the results. If you want to update your results, click on search. Okay, now it's going to show me all of these that fall within this particular shape. You can do that with a polygon as well. Polygon is a custom shape. This is where you would go in and make a custom shape. You're going to click, make your shape for every point that you want to have. And then when you're ready, click on the original dot, and that's what's going to place the shape on the map. One thing you will have to get used to when you are utilizing Realist is the map does not auto-center itself every time you get new results. It does take a little getting used to here. So I'm going to click on this, and I'm actually going to delete my shape. Or you can edit it. If you click on it, you'll see little dark dots and white dots. Let's say maybe I want to expand my results and include this area as well. I can now click search, and it's going to update my results based on what this shape is touching now. So I've got my 75 results here. In addition to the shapes that you have, the radius tool, the rectangle tool, and the polygon tool, you will find below there is a line tool. Here under the pencil, your line tool is going to be a tool of measurement, where you can say, how far is it from Fairview Gardens to Cortlandt Street, or whatever you're looking at. And it will continue to measure, and it'll tell you how far it's going until you actually click on the last dot, and that's what stops it here. Okay, so it just puts a line on the map. You can go in, click on it, and when you do go to the measurement tool, it does show you how big it is as you go through. You also have what's called an annotation tool where you can make a note on the map. It's like a little dialog box. Now, it doesn't really matter where you place it. You can place it anywhere. And when you click on it, you can make a little note. You could say near Carlson Park. And when you apply this, it doesn't matter where you create it, because once you do make it, you can click on it and you can drag it and put a little note on the map or whatever you want to call that little notation. You can have as many of these as you would like. Now later on, when we're talking about printing this, this would include any sort of notations that you've made on the map if you want to put little notes on there. Now I'm going to narrow this down a little bit more. I'm going to take all these properties and say how many of these are owner occupied? No. just so I can kind of thin out my results a little bit. I'm going to start looking at the actual parcels themselves. So I can go in and I can see these parcels here. If you notice, when you zoom in far enough on the map, there is a default layer turned on, and it's going to be these little kind of gray lines. And it's going to surround the actual parcels. Well, you can click on any parcel you would like, and it's going to surround that parcel. And this is a good example here. It shows me the information, the owner, it shows me the bedrooms and bathrooms, the MLS related information if there is any. You'll have a little magnifying glass. When you click on this, this is just going to center the map based on that parcel. It doesn't put a marker or anything on there. All it does is it just centers the map based on that particular address. If I click next to that, after clicking on any parcel, I can click on the little ruler here. And the ruler is going to show me the estimated lot dimensions. So if I click on this, it will show me the actual lot dimensions for that particular parcel. If I click on a parcel that does have an MLS listing, or if it has been in the MLS before, you will see that there is this two little arrows as well. This is only going to show up if that particular parcel has been in the MLS before. In this case, when you click on this, it would open up a brand new window, and it would take you into Matrix for every listing that parcel, however many times it's been listed in the MLS, it would show you all of the old listings in the results here. So it's showing you this last one was a sold listing. Okay, it doesn't interrupt your MLS session. And a little sheet of paper, this is where you go in and view the reports. That's the same thing as double clicking on one of the results at the bottom. We will get to that in the options in a bit. Okay, so that's where you go in and view the reports. Now, by default, you will see at the bottom of your window, the parcel is a default layer. So we'll have a little legend here telling you the gray means that this is the parcel layer. You can add several to this. Moving down, you will see this little box icon where you can see boundaries as a layer. So if I start scrolling out a little bit and I want to click on this, I can add neighborhood boundaries to the map. And these will show up in purple. Now you do need to give it a moment to reload. Now you can have a total of 6 layers on the map. And you can mix and match them however you'd like, up to 6. Just remember your parcel layer is turned on by default. I could go in and click on zip codes. Zip code layer, and that lays it right on top of the neighborhood layer. I could turn off neighborhood if I'd like. When you do put boundaries on the map, or when you do put layers on the map, you do need to give the map a moment to reload itself, so you got to give it a second. I could add in my city boundaries if I want to. And this is all printable. Once you actually put it on the map, you could go right here to print, and you could print this out if you'd like. We'll talk about printing and emailing the map in a moment. I can see my county boundaries. Where do the counties end? And I'd have to probably scroll out a little bit for that. Okay, so here's where Lake County meets Orange County meets Seminole County. I could go in and add in school district boundaries. That's going to be for the school district. It's not per school. It's going to be for the actual school district itself. Okay. Then my last layer here in boundaries is going to be flood zone. Well, it's not going to let me activate it right now. You can see it's grayed out. I actually have to go in a little bit. And as soon as this lights up, when I click on flood zone, this is going to show me the legend of what the different colors mean, and it will show me the flood zone map. This is going to be updated from FEMA. When I start scrolling in a little bit, as I get closer, it's actually going to show me these symbols. Now, there is a place later on where we're going to see flood zone information, but if you want to utilize this as a map, you can. So I'm going to turn that off just so I can free up a layer here. Below the little box kind of icon here, you've got a little thumb tab. This is going to be a layer that you can add for property and sales information. When I come in here, I can add in things like distressed properties. It's telling me I need to zoom in a little bit. So as I start looking at my target area, I can go in and I could say, show me the 3 foreclosures in the area. And we'll take a moment. It's going to put little orange signs on the map. I could put that on as a layer. I could also add an auction as a layer, or bank-owned, REO properties, short sales, REO sales. Just give it a moment. We'll put a legend here at the bottom for everything you're using. Remember, this is going to be printable, but each of these that you put on the map will count against your layers. I can add sales and value. I could go in and put in the tax sales or non-MLS sales and say I want to see these within the last 12 months or 3 months or 6 months or 9 months. Just give it a moment for the map to reload. Okay. I could go in and add MLS status information. Show me the active properties in the area. We'll put a little kind of a green little balloon icon on the map just to indicate where those properties are that are currently active in the MLS. The MLS or matrix and Realist, they do have a little bit of overlap in the information. They do talk to each other a little bit. I could add in pending as a layer, expires, MLS sales, if I wanted to add those onto the map. One thing you can add, which is kind of neat, is as I start looking at this area, I could actually go in and add in property characteristics. And this is going to be once again under the Thumb tab. Now you can only activate one of these at a time, but I could go into a certain area and say, show me the bedrooms and bathrooms in an area. So looking on this side of the block, most of these are 3-2s or have 2 bathrooms. But on this other block, it looks like some of these have 1. So you may be able to position this information differently if you'd like, where you can show building information. I could show the parcel number. I could show the owner name or the address. Remember, when you do put things on the map, they're all going to be printable down here. Below the thumbtack, I have on my map this little trends icon. It's like a little bar graph when you look at it, or a line graph. When you click on this, this is where you can go into a certain area and you can put a layer for trends. You can put a layer for the median sale price. We'll break it down by color here. The median MLS sale price. The real AVM value. The sales activity. The median square foot cost in the area. The number of homes in foreclosure. Or the percentage of homes in foreclosure. Okay, so you can look at the information differently if you'd like. Now down below that, you can aggregate that by zip code or neighborhood. With the property type, you can include single family homes or condos or both. With the colors, you have an opacity scale where you can make the colors darker or lighter, make them a little bit more transparent, whatever works for you. Okay. Now just remember, whenever you're utilizing either the boundaries or the property and sales information or the trend layers, each of these that you activate counts against your total of 6 layers. And one of these is already used, parcel, which you can turn off if you'd like to free one up, but that one will be on by default. Later on when we get into the preferences, we'll talk about how to turn that off permanently if you'd like. Below that, when you're looking at an area, you will have your binoculars. The binoculars are going to be your points of interest. This is going to go into the Bing database, and it's going to show you what could be in the area, the food and dining, gas stations, libraries, educational institutions here. And you can click on these, and it'll tell you what they are. So this is Mediterranean Gourmet. This is going to be, I've turned one on and there is none, so let me turn off education. Now, as you start to add these on, they will kind of be cluttered very quickly. McDonald's, this is Busby's World, Bottoms Up, Cuban Sandwiches to Go. So just puts little markers on the map. It's not perfect. because it is based on what is in the Bing database, but it can potentially show you what is in the area. Then you have driving directions below this. Now, when you click on driving directions, the little car here below, this is going to be where you can get driving directions from point A to point B. You would need to type in the address manually for the from and then the drive to. You can set that for shortest time, shortest distance, or round trip. And then you would click on get directions. Once you get the directions, you can print or email them off or clear them out. Or you can right-click on the map and choose the from and then the to manually on the map, maybe if you're familiar with the area. Once you do that, if you click on Get Directions, it will then populate the directions here, and then you can print them out or email them if you would like. It's only 2 stops. It's only point A to point B here. And I'll go ahead and clear that out. This icon right here, the locate on the map, this is going to take whatever address you want, and it's just going to center the map based on that location. That's all it does. It doesn't put a marker on the map or anything. It just centers the map based on that location, which would be right in this area here. If you want to subtract things from the map or any tools that you're using, once again, you click on the minus sign, just like you clicked on the minus sign to remove your criteria attributes here. When you are viewing the map, you can view it several different ways. If you find that maybe you're running out of room on the map, you can click on just map. This will give you a little bit more room. Even after you're done with the actual attributes, you can collapse that as well, just to give you a little bit more room. When we are focused on the map, by default, it's going to be set for this road setting. So it's kind of like how it would look if you look at this in a map book. If we go to the right, this is going to be the aerial view. Okay, once again, it's showing my parcel layer on top of the aerial view. I can see the hybrid view, which is going to be the roads on top of the actual satellite imagery, the aerial view. Now you can print these at any time just by clicking on print or emailing it to you, however you're viewing the map. So I can print exactly this with my notes. Then you have your bird's eye view, which is going to zoom you in a little closer and put a little bit of an angle on the map. When you're navigating the map, if you click and hold, you can drag and drop the mouse or pan over if you would like. If you have a mouse wheel, you can mouse wheel in manually or wheel back to zoom out. Takes a little getting used to. You can go in and click on the plus or minus sign to go in and zoom in or zoom out manually. This little disc right here, you can go in and slowly pan if you would like. Sometimes that's a little smoother or easier. I'm just clicking and holding on this little disc here to slowly pan over. Maybe if I don't want to do the click and drag, whatever works for you. Okay, so I'm actually going to go in and I'm going to open up my attributes again. I can suppress the map shapes if I don't want to. That way when I print it, it doesn't actually show the shapes. Or I can show them if I want to. I can print or I can email this map. If you wanted to send a copy of this to somebody else, including your notes and all the results and shapes, if you want to see them or not, here. Now, when I do go to print this, printing in Realist is going to be based on what you're looking at. So if you're only looking at the map, it's only going to let you print the map. If you're only looking at the results grid, it's only going to let you print the grid. If you are looking at the split view, though, with the map on the top and the results at the bottom, when you go to print this, it's going to give you the option of all three. Just remember, printing in Realist is going to be based on what you are looking at. So it's either going to be map only, grid only, or the option for both. Okay. So just like when you're getting used to any new system, if you've never gone in and played with Realist before, go in, You work with shapes. Just remember when you do update your criteria to click on search at the bottom. It doesn't auto-update like it does in the MLS. If you run into any problems with the actual map itself, click on Help with Map Tools. And this will guide you through using the map. It's got a little video here that will walk you through it. It's only like 3 minutes long, and it'll be a little bit of reinforcement in case you need it later on. And then we come to the third part of this, which is going to be the actual grid down here at the bottom. So we're going to focus on that for a bit. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to click on the word grid here, and it's just going to bring me to my results grid. Now, right now, I've got 27 results here. And I can select several of these. I can select all of them if I want to go in and look at them if I would like. Now, if I do have more than 27 results, I'm sorry, if I have more than 25, you will find that this print email detail report is capped at 25. Well, that's actually a good thing because when you do want to print out a report, the report includes many, many pages per property. So that can save you from potentially printing out hundreds of pages by mistake. So just keep that in mind. This will turn on and off depending on how many you have selected. So when I go down to 25, I can select it here. Now, when I'm working with my grid here, I can edit my grid. I can edit which of these columns show up in which order if I would like to. Now, in the first set of columns, if you mouse over it, it will tell you what it is. This is the MLS photo indicator. This is the MLS listing indicator, meaning the status. This would be a foreclosure indicator. This would be the distressed sale indicator. There just isn't enough room to really put a description here, so you will need to get used to the actual symbols themselves. Now, when you edit this grid, you can go in and click on these and drag and drop these in whatever order you would like. If you click on any of the columns, you can reorder this grid if you would like to. You can edit the grid from here, but I'm going to give you a huge caution flag on this one. If you click on the edit grid, you can choose to show the only selections that you have, or you can choose to show or hide columns. So I could actually turn these columns off if I want to. Just be careful with this because there is no default button. If you do turn off your fields, you're editing the original format. So just be careful with that. Don't go in and turn them all off and think you can default it back to the original. You cannot, at least at this point. So just be careful when you're editing your grid. There is no default button for this. You can export the results. Now, exporting the results and creating labels are going to be tied together. When you export the results, you want to take this information out of Realist and you want to export it and use it with a spreadsheet program like Excel or OpenOffice or that type of thing. When you export the actual results, you will find that you can customize this. You can customize which of the actual columns that you want to include. So if you want to build your export from scratch, you can. However, if you just want to export it as is, you just click on Export Grid. Now, there is a limit to this. When you do export the grid, you have a total of up to 5,000 records a month. That's the same number that counts against your mailing labels as well. So this month, I've already exported 24, so I have 4,976 remaining. Now, you do not get rollover minutes with this. So if you don't use them, they will reset on the first of the month. You have 5,000 total records that you can export either into a spreadsheet or export as mailing labels. So I'm just going to use my 24 here, and I click on Export. And it actually just does it for you. It puts it in a nice CSV file, which is a default kind of format for all of the different spreadsheets. And it shows me the information here right in Excel or whatever spreadsheet program you have. Now, if there's too much information in one of these, you will find that you have to spread it out a little bit, and that will make it show up here, and you can format it from here. And as we look at this, one thing I want to point out real quick is when you do look at information in Realist, if there is ever a discrepancy between what is in the Realist tax system and what is in the actual MLS system, it will show you. It will tell you what the tax records reflect versus what the last MLS listing reflects here. Okay, so exporting is really easy. It basically just creates the spreadsheet as you're looking at it, and you can go in and work with it from there. You also have your create mailing labels. Well, when you create your labels, we've included the most popular types of Avery standard labels, Avery 5160, 5161, and 5162. And you can format how the information displays on the mailing labels. You can use a mixed case of letters or use all capital letters if you want to. You can create the mailing labels based on tax billing address or using the actual property address if you want to, reflecting the current owner. You can include foreign addresses if you'd like, eliminate duplicates, or you can replace the current owner name with a custom label. If you wanted to make a generic message for this mailing label, it would not be addressed to the individual. It would be addressed to hello, sir, madam, or whatever you want to call it here to replace that, if you want to. Or you can use the property address showing the current owner, or you can change the way that the owner is reflected here. And creating mailing labels is very easy. Once you configure it, it does count against your export limit. So when I click on create, it's going to give me what's called an RTF file. You'll use this with a program like Word or any sort of word processing program. And it's going to have my mailing labels on here. And I could put my labels in the printer and print these out and show up in a nice format. So let's see if we got anybody that's out of the, looks like everybody is in the US. Even if it was a foreign address, it would show it here. Okay, so creating labels and exporting, very easy. Just click on it, you configure it, and it'll format the file for you. Printing or emailing reports, this is going to print the entire report for all of these listings. And where we're going to kind of go from here is actually viewing the reports for these. So just keep in mind, as long as you have under 25 records selected or under 25 results, this is going to print out the entire report for all of these. So just be careful. This would be 25, or I've got 25 selected right now, times however many pages are in the individual reports here. Okay, so I'm going to click on View Reports. Or I could actually just double click on any of these if I want to. It goes to the same place. So when I double click on one of these, it's going to open me up for that individual property. And in the property report, you'll find that it's broken up into different tabs. And all of these tabs are going to show different information. And I can go from property to property just by clicking on these here on the right. Or I could click on the arrows if I want to, just to cycle through them if I would like. I can close the report, go back to the grid at any time. When I do double click on this, we'll just start with this one, 1036 Cortlandt Street in Orlando. So the property detail tab. This is where we're going to start here. When we go in, I start scrolling down. Actually, use another one. There we go. It's a better example. When I start scrolling down here, you'll find that this box will, or this little scroll bar will bounce a little bit as you start scrolling up and down. That's just because it's loading more information, which can be kind of jarring the first time you see it. Basically, it's loading it as you scroll. So you just got to give it a moment here to load up all of the information. So this one right here is an expired listing. So it's going to show me some additional MLS information, like the MLS beds, square footage, that type of thing. And as I start to scroll down, you'll see all kinds of information here, the owner information, location information, the tax information. If I click on the link, it's going to take me into that county's property appraiser site. Remember, if you are going to ask questions, please do not send them to me directly. Please put them in the QA panel. That way my backup can help me with the answers. I see it flashing at me if you sent me a direct message. please put that in the QA panel. That way they can answer it for everybody. Okay, so moving on, we got the tax information here. Assessment and tax information for the last few years, a link to the county treasurer's site. The characteristics of this particular parcel. You'll see the features of the parcel, building area information, the estimated value. Okay, once again, please do not send the messages through the chat, put them in the QA. You should see a QA panel up at the top right. Thank you. When you come in, you'll see the listing information. If there is an actual MLS listing, you will see the listing number for the most recent MLS listing. And when you do click on that, that will take you into the MLS and show you all of the previous listings if they've been in the MLS before. Okay. When you scroll down, you'll see beyond the listing information, you'll see the last market and sale date history, any sort of documentation that goes with that. You'll find the going back in time, all of the recording dates of the different sales. The documents should be available here. When you click on it, it will just open you up to that document. And it's going to give us a moment to load here. Come on. All right, maybe I picked a big one. There we go. Just took a moment. Yeah, so it generates the actual document itself as a PDF. You can save it. You can print it if you would like. Going down here into the mortgage history will show you that information. And then down at the very, very bottom of the property detail, it will have the lot dimensions or estimated lot dimensions. And it will have the property, the location on the map, and it will have your information on here. Now, when you're working with these tabs, property detail all the way through the flood map here, you can print, save, or email this information. If you want to print it out and have a physical copy of this, you can do that. If you want to save it as like a digital copy or PDF, you can definitely do that. And then you have your email, where you can email it off to somebody if you would like. You'll notice when you click on any of these tabs, when you come down to print, save, or email, you will have options for customize, which you basically decide which of these tabs you want to include when you're printing, emailing, or saving. So I can say, you know what, I want to print all this stuff, but the flood map, or however you'd like it. And when you go to quick, you're just basically doing the quick version of printing, saving, or emailing. You are sending it out or saving it or printing it as is. You're not making any sort of customizations. Speaking of customizations, when you are on these tabs for property detail, comparables, market trends, neighbors, neighborhood profile, or the flood map, you will find here under modified, you can change on this individual page these different sections, which ones you want to display. Let's say we want to go in and not look at the estimated value. Well, I can uncheck that, and it's not going to show up here when I go to print it, save it, or email it. So each of these tabs will have a modify button where you choose what you want to display on that page. And then once you get it all to display the way you want it, you can then print it, save it, or email it here. Be careful with this because if you do turn these off, they will be turned off the next time that you come in and look at any other properties. Then we move next to the comparables tab. The comparables tab is going to pull comparables for this property. Now, it has a set of criteria that it uses to pull comparables by default. So there's like a built-in set of criteria that it uses to find comparables. You can modify that. Whenever you're working with things like the comparables tab or the neighbors tab, you can modify this information. Like I can modify what it's using to search. So what I can modify the actual criteria it's using to find these comparables. Now, this may help you depending on where you are, because when you pull up a property and you go to the comparables, you may only find a few. Maybe the houses are more spread out, or maybe it depends on which area you're in. Well, when I go to modify and search here, it's going to take me to the criteria that Realist is using to pull these comparables. Right now, it's not really using very detailed information. It's just telling me I can have up to 20. I can sort them by distance, include the images here. Am I pulling from the tax data source or the MLS specifically, or both? Notice here when I come down, my tax, distress sale, or geographic boundary will be kind of blanked out here because when you're using the database of both the tax and MLS information, it's not going to pull tax or distress sales or the geographic boundary. That only works if you actually are just using the tax database. So just keep that in mind. That's how you go in and set these if you'd like. Okay, but you can go in and say, well, with my comparables and the criteria I'm using to search for comparables, I can change the maximum distance. I can set a sale price, year built, bedrooms, bathrooms, stories, if I want to go in and use some of that criteria to define what I want as a comparable. I can look in a different time period if I want to. I can look in a specific range if I want to. Maybe I want to go back 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, 1 year if you'd like. I can search for comparable based on the living area percentage. By default, it's 10%, but you may want to set that within a 15% range, 20% range. Lot area, you can have style if you wanted to go in and utilize style as a criteria, or land use if you want to. And when you do go in and you set your criteria for comparables, you will find that if you click on submit, this is going to be a one-time adjustment. That's just going to pull comparables one time based on your updated criteria. Well, you may actually want to use that same criteria when you update this permanently. If you click on save and submit, this is going to take your updated criteria and apply it into Realist as a default for what you're using to pull comparables. Once you get this all the way you want it, you can click on Generate Comps Report. And this is going to open up a new window. And it's going to show where the subject property is, or the initial property, and it will show where all the properties are located near it. It will have the criteria that you're using to search for the comparables. And as you go down, this will bounce a little bit initially. You can see the statistics of the actual comparables, high, low, median, average values. You will see a picture of the comparables here, the information. Once again, if there are any discrepancies, you'll see them on here. We'll look at that again here in the grid in a moment. Any sort of comparable information, you would just scroll to the right if you would like. You can edit this if you want, or you can print this if you would like here. Once again, anytime you're looking at the grid or any grid information, if there is ever a discrepancy versus of what is in the tax records versus what is in the MLS, it will tell you. I can go to the right and I can see market trends. Market trends are going to be different graphical representations of the information of that area. You'll find that it will be drilled down by zip code, and it just gives you different stats of the pricing trends. You can see the median sale price to current value for tax sales. When I scroll down here, percentage of properties purchased above or below current value in tax sales. Median sale price in tax sales versus the median sale price in the MLS. Median list price in the MLS. Median price per square foot in the tax records. So it just gives you other different stats here as you kind of scroll up and down. Different information. Notice it does label with your information here at the bottom. I can modify this page, and I can say, you know what, I don't want to put the market activity on this page with stress property information or the chart descriptions. So you can go in and customize what you want to see. When I click on search here, I can modify this, how it's aggregated by single family homes or condos with the trend period, whether it's quarterly or monthly, and the geography. If I save and submit, that's going to set that as a permanent default. Then I come to neighbors. Just like comparables, Realist has default criteria in the MLS for what it uses to find neighbors or what it defines as a neighbor. When you do come in here and you scroll down, by default, you'll see the neighbors that it lists. It will number them based on where they are. You can go in and see neighbor 1, neighbor 2, neighbor 3. You can scroll over and look at the rest of this if you would like. But you can modify what is being used to define a neighbor. Like how many neighbors you want to pull, how far are you going away from the subject property. You can set that preference permanently if you'd like. Now later on when we get into preferences, when we start to get towards the end of this presentation, a lot of the defaults for what you find in the modify button can be set here in preferences. So we'll get to that in a bit. Okay. Now, if you do print it or save it, or sorry, if you save it or email it, this is going to be saved as a PDF or emailed as a PDF attachment. We'll get to emailing here in a moment. Neighborhood profile. This is going to go through and have some different demographic information, different representations of the information based on the zip code. Once again, as you scroll down, this will kind of bounce a little bit. Okay, so here in the demographics, you'll have a population breakdown in that zip code, gender breakdown, marital status, housing status, stability, occupancy information, fair market rents, quality of life, workers by industry, breakdown of the workforce, household income, commute method, weather information, education information. We'll have some information from great schools, and then down at the very, very bottom, it will have some local business information. Okay, so it's got all these different sections here under the neighborhood profile. Well, when you come in here to modify, once again, you can modify what it's using to search based on the distance, choosing what types of schools you want to include. If you'd like, you can set that as a permanent default. When you modify and you look at display, you can choose to suppress the local business information or schools or the demographic information. Then after you change how it's being viewed, you can then print it, save it, or email it here. In addition to this, you will have a last tab called Flood Map. The flood map is going to show where the property is located. It will have what type of flood zone it is. It actually defines that. So it tells you what a zone X is here. Down at the bottom, it will have a little map showing you what the different colors represent here. Now, if you pull up a property, it should have these tabs. However, if you go in and you pull up a foreclosure tab, it will actually have another tab here called foreclosure information, and that will that's where you can click on that and get like the plaintiff and the defendant, that type of thing. We'll look for one of those in a moment. So let's say I wanted to email this information off. So I click on email. And if I email the quick version, this is just going to email me what I'm looking at as far as this whole report as a PDF. Well, if I click on customize, I can choose which of these tabs I want to include or exclude. Okay, after you click on OK, it's going to go through and generate a PDF, and it will bring up the email dialog. Should be coming up here in a moment. Okay, it'll tell you the status. Looks like it's still processing the PDF here. Now, there is no contact list in Realist. You do need to type out the recipient manually. The default subject line will just say simply Realist report. You can edit whatever is included in the actual message. You can edit your email signature from here. We'll talk about that in the preferences here in a moment, and you click on Send. And I click on send. It will tell you when it's been sent successfully. Now, when that recipient gets it, they will have this information, all of these tabs, in one little kind of packet PDF, and will include all of these tabs that you chose to include with it. So we're going to go back here, and I'm actually going to close this report, and I'm going to clear out my search, and I'm going to open up my folder, and we're going to look for a foreclosure. So I just want to show you one thing that could be a little different depending on the area. And I'm going to open up my map view, and I'm just going to draw a box and see if we get lucky here. So I'm going to click on these, just come in an area, click on search. All right, so come in, good here. You would need to specify where it is, the foreclosure stage. You could say, is it pre-foreclosure or maybe it's bank-owned. When I do click on search to update my criteria, doesn't seem like anything is there. Let's say auction, still not lucky. Maybe I should draw a bigger shape. Pre-foreclosure, there we go. Now, if you open up one of these that's in perhaps like pre-foreclosure, that type of thing, when you do that type of search, a foreclosure search, and you open up one of these results, you will have a tab for foreclosure that's going to have the foreclosure information. When you click on it here, this is going to have the document type. This one's list pendants. It would have the document number for the foreclosure. It would have the defendant, the plaintiff here, any foreclosure history, any documents that are associated with that. It would then bring up those PDFs and you can view them. And probably should have not clicked on that, but I'm going to let this one view just so we can take a look at the actual property itself. There we go. Okay, so it would show the documentation here. You can go in and save this or print it if you'd like. So you will see an additional foreclosure tab here if you were doing that type of search. Now, the last thing we're going to talk about here is going to be in the preferences section, because this is where you can go in and set the preferences for how Realist behaves. So when you go into preferences, you will find the preferences for searching. Just has a couple options on here. Basically, if you only have one result, you want it to open up automatically. We'll just save you a click. Then you have this box right here where it says include unmatched sales transaction in the results, search results. What is considered matched is something that has both tax records and an MLS record. Well, that's not the case for most properties, because not all properties have been in the MLS. So by default, you want both. So don't uncheck this box. You want to include the unmatched sales. You don't want everything that just has an MLS record with it. When you come into the reports, this will take you through all of the different tabs that you can edit. Basically, it's the same thing as going into those modify tabs and setting the defaults. So I can set a default for what is defined as a comparable. I can set a default for what's in the market trends menu. I can set the default for what is defined as a neighbor. I can set a default for what's in the neighborhood profile information here, how that is pulled. So really in the report section, this is just where you go and set the defaults for what is in all of those different modify options. Below that, you will have your email signature. Email signature is text-based. You can set the font, the size, bold, italics, underline, set the color. You can align the text if you would like. That's about all the customization you get here. You can't add any sort of special pictures or anything. This would just be included in what is sent out from Realist. Now, this does not pull from anything in Matrix. So you will need to reestablish it for your email signature here in Realist. And then with the map defaults here in preferences, do you want the parcel layer to be turned on by default? Just remember in the help section, you got all kinds of help here. In the tutorial section, all the different sections here have their own videos and guides and things. They can help you. Contact us is going to have the MLS support information. If you ever need any help, reach out to our call center. They will be able to help you with Realist as well. Legal information, privacy policy, Microsoft because we use Bing, that type of thing here. They are on Facebook, Twitter. They have YouTube videos. They have a blog if maybe you want to follow Realist to see the latest developments and all of their updates because they do offer new features from time to time. Go ahead and wrap this webinar up, but hopefully this helped you getting started with Realist. My name is John Lipscomb. I'm one of the trainers at the MFR MLS, and hopefully I'll see you again in another class. Have a good day.